Biochemistry at Washington University in St. Louis, and I'm the president of the Untitled Chapter of Mortar. First off, thank you so much for your interest in the governance of Mortar nationally. I am joined on the Conference Nominating Committee by Nicole Sanders, and I'll go ahead and let her introduce herself.
Hi everyone, as the other Nicole mentioned, my name is Nicole Sanders. I am the president of the Cap and Gown chapter of Mortar Board at the University of Wyoming, and here I major in psychology and international studies. Thank you all for attending this meeting, and I'd also like to let you know that it is being recorded. I will now turn introductions to Dakota Neiman for the Resolutions and Recommendations Committee.
Hello there, everyone. My name is Dakota Neiman, and I've been appointed to the chair of the conference's Resolutions and Recommendations Committee. I'm currently a member of the Untitled Chapter at the University of California, Los Angeles. And at this time, I'm going to ask my other fellow committee members with me to go ahead and quickly unmute themselves and go ahead and introduce themselves at this time.
Hi, Dakota. My name is Nina. I am also part of Untitled Chapter. I am the initiative chair for the upcoming academic year, but I was the community service chair for the previous academic year.
Hi everyone, I'm Kayla Miner, and I am the Vice President of Administration at the Barbara Cook chapter at Purdue University.
Great. Okay. With that, the National Council is the steward of Mortar Board, and it's composed of 9 members, 7 of whom are alumni members of our society. These positions include the president, president-elect, vice president, secretary-treasurer, immediate past president, and 2 alumni representatives at large. There are also 2 student representatives at large who serve for 2 years. Each one is selected for each year. This year, we have 4 members who are running for this position.
Great. These members were identified much earlier this summer when they threw their hat in the ring and completed candidate statements. They were interviewed by the Standing Nominations Committee via Zoom, who then put them forward for our Conference Nominating Committee to place onto the slate. There are 4 candidates. We will introduce them one by one, and I'll ask that each of the candidates waves after we say your name. So we'll begin in alphabetical order. Caitlyn, Broadway, University of Tennessee at Chattanooga, Scholarship Event Chair for the Quadrangle Chapter. Okay. Daniela Altamirano Crosby, University of Washington, President, Tolo Chapter. Kayla Miner, Purdue University, Vice President of Administration, Barbara Cook Chapter. And Beth Phillips, Illinois State University, Secretary and Selection Chair, Red Tassel Chapter. Great. Now let's view the videos of each candidate. We will begin in random order, starting with Kayla Miner of Purdue.
I am Kayla Miner, and I am honored to be a candidate for the National Council Student Representative position. As an organization, we are in a unique position, which allows us to combine each of our campus's top leaders and scholars to unite in service to give back to our campus and communities. As each of us know, we are in unprecedented times, which certainly bring about its challenges. I would argue, however, that these times have also brought to light many opportunities that exist for us as an organization. It has brought to light the importance of adapting as an organization so that we can better serve our members on virtual platforms and without having physical feet on the ground. While I am very hopeful that one day soon we can meet in person, I know that these new virtual opportunities will help us as an organization to better meet your needs, and they will go beyond COVID-19. As each of us know, each chapter and each member is unique, and there isn't a one-size-fits-all solution on the national level. This is why it's important that every student need is brought to the table at these National Council meetings. And I pledge to be an advocate for you by ensuring that your voice will be heard. In order to do this, I plan to open lines of communication so that you have direct access to me. By having monthly meetings with chapter leadership teams and even hosting open office hours throughout the month for every member. This way I can hear your needs and learn about the importance that those needs have for you and better communicate those to the National Council so that in every decision that's being made, your needs are at the forefront of our attention. I appreciate your consideration for this position, and I am certainly excited to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Next, we'll take a look at the recording by Beth Phillips of Illinois State.
Hello everyone, I'm Beth Phillips, Secretary and Selections Chair of the Red Tassel Chapter, Illinois State University in Normal, Illinois. I was inducted into Mortar Board in April 2020, and I'm honored to have this opportunity to run for the position of National Student Representative. Recognition of educational excellence and leadership should not follow gender, race, or nationality. Mortar Board gives students a chance to paint their future with leadership opportunities, create new experiences, and relationships with professionals across the country. Involvement in leadership opportunities advance the equality lacking in underrepresented populations, specifically women and minorities. Mortar Board on campus shows support and empowerment through collaborations in communities, student organizations, and becoming allies for those who have otherwise been underrepresented. Working with diversity groups can inspire someone to become the next Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Amal Clooney, or Emma Watson. The global pandemic occurring does change how Mortar Board performs, but does not change its purpose. Service and education are a constant need in the conditions of the pandemic. The same leadership opportunities, empowerment for all, and recognition for those who perform with excellence can be fulfilled using campus resources such as reserved computer labs to ensure all members have equal access to these experiences. I've learned while participating in higher education, you'll make time for the things important to you, and one should always take time to be an active listener. I have found my passion for helping people from experience in a sign language interpretation program, volunteering at Easter Seals, and working with deaf redbirds at Illinois State. I have the time, dedication, ambition, and willingness to help at the national level. I will uphold the mission and purpose of Mortar Board with an open mind and supportive manner, along with the initiative to educate and learn from others. Again, I thank you for this opportunity to be a candidate for student representative, and I cannot wait to see what Mortar Board holds in the future.
Now, let's meet Daniela Altamirano Crosby of University of Washington.
Mortar Board is an important part on my campus today. The Mortar Board Untitled Chapter is the oldest honor society at the University of Washington, and we have many outstanding alumni. I also think that people see Mortar Board as a prestigious honor society, and since only a set number of students are selected to join Mortar Board, the process of selection has become an imperative part of the chapter. Mortar Board's dedication to the three pillars of scholarship, leadership, and service are attractive to a diverse number of students, and members of Mortar Board continue to be actively involved in serving the community as a whole. This has gotten them national recognition. In fact, more than 250,000 members have been initiated at the 232 chapters that Mortar Board has nationwide. The fact that Mortar Board promotes equal opportunity among all people and emphasizes the advancement of the status of women has made this one of the most sought after societies to join at the college and university level. In order to be an active member of the National Council, I will make sure to keep track of everything that it is that I have to do. I'm a very task-oriented person, therefore I will be aware of everything that is needed from me and the various due dates of assignments. Not to mention that I will go above and beyond if I were to be chosen to be student representative for the National Council. Although I have only just began my involvement into Mortar Board by joining the Honor Society and becoming the president of my Untitled chapter at the University of Washington, I am very excited to see what is to come. Thank you.
All right, and finally, let's take a look at Caitlyn Broadway of the University of Tennessee, Chattanooga.
Hello, my name is Caitlyn Broadway, and I am running for the student representative position on National Council for Mortar Board. Though it is unfortunate that we cannot meet in person due to the current circumstances, I am glad that we can still enjoy fellowship at the most basic level. All that should truly matter is a smiling face and an open mind. A lot of time and energy was necessary in order to make this conference a reality, and I would like to sincerely thank those responsible for orchestrating this event. More than ever, Mortar Board has a serious role to play on the Modern Society's campus. Though its primary function of honoring those high-achieving scholars still exists, it should also serve a secondary function, one of connectivity. Our Honor Society needs to connect us with each other and our communities. These last few months have been difficult, but we can finish stronger than ever if we listen to our community's needs and act accordingly. We should make it a habit to act as a support system for scholars across the country, especially during uncertain and troubling times. My role on National Council will be one of a servant's. I strongly believe that the best leaders are followers at the core. If elected, I hope to serve the society in whatever way is necessary. I will be sure to listen to all chapters and take it before the National Council. Most importantly, I will take an active role and accomplish what is deemed necessary during my term. Thank you for your time and your consideration.
Great. Thank you so much for paying attention to these videos. As mentioned, they'll be available on the Whova app throughout this conference. And if you'd like, you can share the links of these videos with other members of your chapter so they'll be able to view them as well. And with that, we'll open up the question and answer part of this meeting. So in the chat, feel free to ask your questions for our candidates, and Nicole and I will be directing those questions. That said, make sure you let us know which candidate your question is directed at. The candidates will be answering the questions out loud, and we urge them to use to answer in sound bites. We've got about 15 minutes for this portion of the meeting, and then we'll turn everything over to the Resolutions and Recommendations Committee. So with that, let's get started with the first question, which is directed at Beth Phillips. The question is, in addition to your Mortar Board duties, what other responsibilities will compete should you be elected to the National Council?
So I do work, but I've cut that down just to 20 hours a week. So it's a very short time. I only have 2 classes this semester, and I'm planning on taking a longer route to get my bachelor's degree, especially now with COVID. It actually has really helped me learn that the patience that I am taking gives me a lot more time to really put everything I have into it. I have a 6-month-old nephew who's adorable and cute and chubby and the most precious thing on the planet. But right now I only FaceTime with him. But really, Mortar Board, my education has taken a front seat right where I want to be, because I do want to really thrive in my education and really grow more in my leadership skills.
Great, thank you, Beth. The next question is for Caitlyn Broadway. Can you describe what a support system for the Mortar Board Society would look like?
All right, yeah, thanks for that great question. So I am still a bit new to Mortar Board because I was only initiated back in April or May of this year. I don't know if it's a normal thing, but I really liked having the Whova app because I feel like that was a nice way to condense and get everyone on the same level, because when you're looking at a National Honor Society, it can be difficult and challenging at times to get everyone's voice heard. But I feel like having the app installed, and I mean maybe using the app just year-round, would be a very beneficial way for us to stay connected and hear out our different chapters' problems across the nation. So I would think something like that, but I definitely am open to different considerations because I think everyone needs to have an opinion on something as serious as offering support to the chapters that especially need it. So thank you.
All right, do we have any other questions? We can even redirect a previous question to another candidate if you'd like.
That seems like a good idea to me. This is Jane Hamblin. If you wanted, if the committee wanted to ask one of those questions of one of the other candidates and split it out a little bit.
For sure. That sounds great. So we're going to stick with the question. Can you decide what a support system for the Mortar Board Society would look like? And let's start with Daniela.
All right. Caitlyn, I loved your idea. I think at UW we use a lot of Slack. So I think incorporating Slack would be a good idea. as well. Zoom, but I think Slack would be the best for this national chapter. Just kind of like what Caitlyn said, make sure that everyone has the support that they need. And I like in the app that we have right now, how everyone can create a new channel and asking just different things like, what's your favorite movie? Or do you need help with anything? Or can we stay connected? So just that idea of connecting with each other is just very important. And I think we should have something like that.
Great.
All right, what about Kayla?
Yes, thank you very much. This is something that's really important to me, if you will, and you'll probably see a consistent theme beyond my video as well as in the app, is just being able as a student representative to support every student of our organization's and Honor Society's voice. So in order to do that, what I would like to do is, again, kind of echoing Daniela, I really like the thoughts that have already been stated. So using a consistent app or even the other different methods that she mentioned, just kind of create a discussion board that anybody can access at any time. But also in addition to that, I think it's really important that as a student representative, we have contact with those chapter leaders on campus that is very intentional. So setting up a monthly meeting with all of these chapter officers, and then also holding virtual office hours monthly, just so I'm accessible to everyone. That way they can come to me with any concerns, even ideas, or different issues that their chapter is facing to the National Council. So something that's consistent for all members to use all the time, but also then being very intentional, reaching those chapter leaders and hearing from them as well.
Great, thank you, Kayla. So we will now ask Beth that same question, and don't worry, Amanda, we see your question. It'll be next.
So I feel like this kind of been echoed. I'm the last person to echo it. But the Whova app, honestly, really put everyone same playing field. And it really, you can make a different discussion, but also either like a Google Doc or something where if there is, you can even create like a discussion board through Google Doc that everyone would easily have access to. And then you could discuss a question or pose an issue, like how are we going to give me ideas for a fall craft event that is COVID friendly or something of that nature, and just basically create an open communication line where other people could edit or throw other ideas in so everyone's voice is heard. Or if there's an idea that needs brought forth for like a leadership opportunity that could be used for every chapter across the nation, having that one resource so people could like type out ideas. I know for myself, I have to edit down because I have a million ideas, but then I'm like, no, these are the more practical ones. So really type out and, think through what they want, and then they can pare that down to really what they feel a good suggestion would be, or even type out as much as they want for it, as long as the line is there for the communication.
Thank you. All right, for our next question, this is for Kayla. You mentioned open lines of communication in your speech. What would that look like on a practical level, and how would you help make it clear who one should address concerns with?
Yeah, for sure. So I think this kind of goes back to the previous question, if you will. But I want to reiterate, as a student representative, I want to be the advocate for the student membership that we already have, or that we currently have. But I really can't do that if nobody is approaching me with these questions, right? So that's why open lines of communication is really important to me. And like I've mentioned, I have plans to kind of put into action, meeting with those chapter leaders, having those discussion boards that we've all talked about, as well as having just open office hours once a month where everybody has that link, whether I distribute that through email, social media, just making myself as accessible to every single member of our organization so that any ideas and all ideas are heard. And then to kind of address that second question of how would you help make it clear with who to address concerns with, I think from a student perspective, I would hope that they would come to me or the other student representatives so that we can advocate for them at that national council and that table that we go to. But of course, there's also a whole national council that is far beyond the two of us as well. So just hoping that even beyond the student leadership side of things, the advisors are using that national council to hear those ideas and if they want to see something be implemented, that they're really advocating for themselves and going to the National Council as well.
Great, thank you, Kayla. So it looks like we have another question for all the candidates. And the question, we'll start with Caitlyn. The question is, you all have mentioned using technology to facilitate discussion. How would you then drive and promote that discussion on the platform?
So I think the most important factor in driving a discussion on this sort of national level would definitely be to make it feel like an open and welcoming environment. We need to feel like everyone has an opinion, everyone has a voice, because it's true, everyone should have a voice, because without the different chapters, we wouldn't have a National Honor Society. So I really feel like it's important to make everyone feel like their voice does matter, your thoughts, your feelings, your actions matter. And of course, I believe that the student representative's job on these discussion boards would be to remain active at all times, because if your student representative isn't active, then why should the other members be active? So I think the best facilitator we can have at that point would be for an active student representative to really take charge and to promote that sort of feeling of camaraderie and, you know, everyone is welcome, everyone's values, thoughts, beliefs, they do matter. So that's what I would think.
Thank you. All right, we'll do the same question about facilitating discussion using technology with Daniela next.
All right, so I think the diversity is very important, and that's one thing that I promoted when I was interviewed by the National Council as well. So like Caitlyn was saying, and Chelsea as well, it was the fact that, like they were saying too, and if you see in the group chat about the Discord app, I've actually heard of it. I don't know why I didn't think about bringing that up as well. But maybe creating just different groups within the app, that being Slack or anything else that we're using, that is open to anyone to bring up anything, or even me, just to have that thing like, does anybody have any question? Or this is my email if you have any question, or office hours as well, just to make sure that I'm always maybe asking questions if they have questions, even though that sounds really funny, but I think that's what's important as well.
Great, thank you, Daniela. And Kayla, your answer?
Yeah, I think it goes back to what I've answered before, is just making sure that they know where to find us, how to find us, the links if it is a virtual platform for office hours or whatever. So making sure that we are very accessible and making that very clear. So making sure that those lines of communication are getting out to all of the membership and not just a select few, if you will. And then as for like promoting productive discussion, if you will, so I've had a lot of training in facilitation. So I kind of know how to facilitate those conversations and take an unbiased view and really get both sides of the story, or just like the full story, if you will, to take forward and really make an unbiased decision together with the group. So thank you.
All right, and then for Beth.
So the Red Tassel chapter, we use GroupMe. So it's basically like a group text, but you can make different subsets of that. And anyone now is going to have their phone. I have my phone glued to my hand, basically, so an email is sent, probably 2-5 minutes later. So really having that accessible, because most people have a phone. You can also get the GroupMe app, I think, on like a web browser also. So really using GroupMe has done a lot for our chapter, and I would plan on making different subsets, obviously making a whole platform for everyone, but then maybe paring down like different discussion boards, like just a generalized, hey, do you have any questions? What are your concerns? What do you want to talk to me about? Anything, what can I help with? But then also saying, okay, X idea here, Y idea here, and just really opening up so everyone will have that equal platform to express concern or maybe an idea, suggestion, have their voice heard, and really go that way with it so everyone has the access available.
Great, thank you, Beth. So we've had a request to go back to the original question, but for all the candidates. So as a reminder, that question was, in addition to your Mortar board duties, what other responsibilities will compete should you be elected to the National Council? We'll get that started with Daniela.
Ooh, that's one of the questions that I had a hard time answering when I was interviewed, but I like to be part of everything. So I do have a lot of other things going on. I volunteer a lot with Wagra Foundation. They help the underserved communities here in Washington State. So that, along with Mortar Board, are like my two pillars that are at the top. But I think that I have been able to kind of juggle those two positions as well, being president, even though I was just elected. I definitely prioritize Mortar Board and then WAGRO because academics are above anything else right now. I'm going to graduate in 2021, so I'm just really excited to be part of Mortar Board. And other than that, just school. So full-time student as well, but I am very good at multitasking, so I'm not worried about not being able to make time for anything.
All right, and next we have Kayla, and also a request, answer this question for both of the 2 years. It's okay if you already went, no worries, but yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So I think one really important thing and one exciting thing about Mortar Board is that all of us were selected to be here because we're busy, because we're leaders on our campuses. So that is something that personally I'm proud to be a part of that. I will be upfront. Last spring semester, I was taking 21 credit hours, 20 hours of work along with different leadership positions in I think 4 different student organizations at the time. So time management became really important to me during that time. And at the end of the semester, I just had to kind of reflect and realize you have to make time for those things that are important to you. So going into the fall semester, I'm only taking 12 credits a semester, so that's very nice. So that'll really help free up some time. But also just being a senior, my leadership positions in my organizations, I've allowed younger members to step up into as well. So still involved in 4 different student orgs, but only hold a leadership position within the chapter level of Mortar Board as well. And then work has also slowed down. So I'm really excited that a lot of my time has freed up so that I can dedicate it to Mortar Board for the next year, not only our chapter, but hopefully nationally as well. And then after graduation, hopefully I will land a full-time job. But really, I'm expecting a lot of my free time kind of after that 5 o'clock, 9 to 5 time frame to really be free and open and obviously have vacation days to be able to travel to national conference and support the organization, however that might look. So I'm not really concerned even post-graduation as well.
Great, thank you, Kayla. And Caitlyn, we'll have you finish up on this question.
So this is definitely a loaded question for me. Like the other 3 said, I definitely enjoy staying busy. Starting sophomore year, I began my work in the biochemistry lab, which took up, 30 to 40 hours a week. And then I also work as a technician assistant at an emergency clinic for animals. That's typically how I spend my weekends, is saving cats and dogs. Honestly, it's not work though. It's a stress relief in a sense, so I really wouldn't consider that a time commitment. It's more of a, I enjoy doing this, so that's what I'm going to keep doing. Because I have enjoyed staying so busy throughout my years in college, I've gotten really good at time juggling, because when you're working a full-time job and taking 18 credit hours a semester, you have to get relatively good at it pretty quick. So thankfully, I have learned how to manage my time relatively well, and I've learned to prioritize things. After graduation, because I do graduate in December of this year, so that means that I will be free from January of 2021 until sometime in the summer that I'm not going to be doing much of anything. And hopefully I'll be attending a veterinary school in the fall. I will not lie, that will definitely be more difficult to balance things just because it's a new world. However, thankfully, the first couple of years of vet school is just classroom stuff, so it won't be too hard to go away on the weekends because I can study while I travel. Thankfully, it's not that we have rotations that first year that we have to plan accordingly. So I am very ready and very eager to take whatever steps I need to take in order to make it work if I am elected to National Council. And I do believe that if you care about something and if you want to make time for something, you're going to make time for it. So I'd like to leave with you with that. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, let's go on to the next question. This is going to be for everybody. If you had the authority, what would you like to see changed about Mortar Board right now? And let's get started with Beth.
The change with Mortarboard. Sorry, let me. I think Mortarboard's pretty good structured, like pretty well structured right now. I feel like digitally, that is going to be, we live in a digital world. It's been digital for quite a while, but now it's taking steps to be a different kind of digital because we can't have the face-to-face. So I feel like it will, again, with the communication aspect, it's going to be a new animal to try and just figure that out and figure out a format that really works best for everyone. But the good thing that is the digital format is, I mean, everyone here is pretty used to the digital format as of this point because everything has moved. College courses, some conferences even before COVID were pretty digital as it was, digital presentations, Dropbox, a lot of that is pretty well set up. So a change maybe just, we can't do it right now, but maybe like a digital mixer, like do like breakout sessions, just like we did in the session before this, do breakout sessions, maybe projects via digital. But since I am new to this organization, I haven't really had a taste too much of it. But like online leadership projects, online community projects, working with communities, because you can still drop things off, be very sanitary about it, but figuring out what works best for your community and maybe throwing in a bit more of that community aspect to Mortarboard.
Great, thank you, Beth. And now we will ask Daniela.
Ooh, okay, I am ready. One thing that I noticed, and it's really sad to say, before I got elected and everything else into Mortarboard, I didn't have any clue what Mortarboard was. So I think one thing that I would change for Mortarboard would be more social media presence, that being like Instagram or Facebook. Instagram is probably the top one right now. Just putting the presence, getting more followers, getting everyone excited about Mortarboard and what it is, and getting the word out there because it's such an amazing organization, and I think more people should know about it. So even as president, I've been trying to just put everything out on the media, you know, like come to Mortarboard. This is what it is. These are our goals, our pillars. So just getting that presence, I think, is very important.
All right, how about Kayla?
Yeah, so I think bouncing off of that a little bit, I'd like to see Mortarboard go a little bit more modern and modernize the organization as a whole. So a few things that I've thought about how we can do that, and I'm really excited to see the strategic plan that we've recently unveiled for the next year, especially during all of this COVID time, actually hits on two of the things that I've been thinking about. One is just updating the website and our social media presence, again, echoing what Daniela said. But the second thing that I'm particularly really passionate about is just promoting diversity and inclusion and equity, and I'm really excited that we are trying to put a committee together to do that. In a previous organization that I served in a similar role to the student representative role, this was something that we were really focusing on too, and I had heard a lot of student concerns about this area and brought it to our board of directors and was able to kind of amp up our diversity and inclusion efforts in that. And that's just something that I've had 40 hours of training within the diversity and inclusion space. So it's something I'm really passionate about, and I'm really excited to see our organization taking steps to make ourselves even more equitable than we already are, if you will. And then another thing is just making sure that we're advocating for our student voices, and whether that be through bylaw changes or just different recommendations. Even changing the member guide to be up to 2020 learning standards and types that our generation is facing. So really just challenging where we're at now and reminding ourselves that change isn't always a bad thing, and being willing to modernize ourselves as an organization as we look back on our rich history and figuring out how we can best support our membership moving forward.
Great, thank you, Kayla. And now for Caitlyn.
So I really like what Daniela and Kayla said, because I totally agree that before I really got initiated, I didn't know a lot about Mortarboard. So I really think that moving forward, being more in the now and the future, and getting on board with our social media is very important. But at the same time, I would like to see a return to our roots, because, I mean, the three pillars that Mortarboard is founded on, leadership, service, and then scholarship, I mean, those should be those should not be changing, no matter how old the organization gets. And I would especially like to see a return to service, because I feel like now, especially in the environment that we are living in, service could be life-changing at this point. People are going through so much right now, and I feel like really returning to our servant roots and really doing and putting back with our community, I think that could be a game changer for the proceeding of Mortar Board and how we bounce into the future. So thank you.
Thank you, everyone. All right, so our next question, again, is going to be for everybody. This question, Mortar Board might be new to you guys, but how do you plan on balancing your chapter responsibilities with your national responsibilities? And can you share a little bit of what Mortar Board means to you? Let's start with Kayla.
Yeah, for sure. I really like this question. And I think it's an important one that we're all aware of as we're running for this position, as we all do hold chapter leadership responsibilities. I think I'm going to answer the second question first. And what does a Mortar Board mean to me? So I was a little bit aware of what Mortar Board was prior to being tapped. And it's at Purdue, it's always been an organization that is very prestigious and one that a lot of people strive to be in. So I was very honored to be selected, very surprised and very honored, if you will. And that's because I think it combines a lot of the things that I value into one, and it makes leading an organization really easy, because I love leadership, I love scholarship, and I love service. So as a leader in Mortar Board, you get to do those things and really build yourself and develop yourselves in those three areas, while also serving the organization and giving back. So I think Mortar Board just gives us a really great platform to be aware of what each of our campuses have given to us in our first few years of our undergraduate, and really transition that focus into how can we give back to our campuses and really thank them for what they've done for us, as well as continue building leaders and scholars on our campuses. So that answers the second question. And then going back to balancing your chapter responsibilities with national responsibilities, again, I think it's making time for what's important to you. And obviously they're both going to be very important. But I think what I'm really excited about is I know I have a chapter officer team or a cabinet back at home that's very supportive of me running for this. And I know that they will support me if I have to step out for a national responsibility or vice versa. So I'm not too worried about that whole balance. I know I'll make time for what's really important to me. And again, I have the time to be able to do that. So.
Great, thank you, Kayla. Caitlyn?
So I am currently the scholarship chair in my chapter, which thankfully it doesn't have quite as many responsibilities, of course, as the president. So I do have a little bit more of free time on my hands with Mortar Board, thankfully. But once again, it comes back to finding that balance and finding things that you enjoy in each job to make it seem like it's not work at all. Because I really think that finding the small joys in life will make it seem a bit easier, and it'll make time go by a bit faster. And I truly believe that I can mesh my responsibilities as a scholarship chair in my local chapter with my national responsibilities, because Mortar Board is Mortar Board is Mortar Board. What matters at the local level should matter at the national level. So I'm not too concerned with having to balance those two responsibilities. As for what Mortar Board means to me, service has always been a big part of my life. Ever since I began working as a nursing assistant at the ER, I really understood what it was like to work with people on a more intimate sort of level. And I feel very strongly about giving back to my community. So I think that's what really drew me in about Mortar Board, is just the service aspect and giving back, because I know I've been given so much and so many opportunities by my campus and by all the wonderful people in my life. So I would just love to give back and really live the service aspect of Mortar Board. So.
Thank you. All right, how about Daniela?
All right, so I just got to be elected president for my Mortar Board Tolo chapter at UW, and I know it's a lot of responsibility, but like Caitlyn was saying, I love everything that there has to be with Mortar Board, so I'm really excited to the possibility of being part of the National Council, and I don't think I will have any hard time balancing anything at all, because like I said, I love it, so I'll find time for it as well. And then as for the other question, I think like all three aspects of Mortar Board really drew me in. Service, I love volunteering. If you look at my resume, it's all literally just volunteering. So I love giving back to my community. I have a lot of leadership roles, and I really like being a leader, and I like to be looked up at as well. And as for scholarship, academics are very important to me as well. So I take a lot of pride in that. So I just think everything about Mortar Board, I love it.
Great, thank you, Daniela and Beth.
So my background, I lived in a rural town in central Illinois. My high school had FFA and Drive Your Tractor to School Day. So as you can imagine, the diversity there's not a lot of diversity. So at my community college and at ISU, Mortar Board has really given me that sense of just diversity, and I love that Mortar Board supports that. In my community college, I was around the deaf community, deaf-blind community, and really the diversity of that background, just every bit of knowledge I could soak in, I did with that. Along with the service aspect. I mean, volunteering gives back to so many people, and it inspires things in other people. They may inspire to help the next person down the street. And then scholarship-wise, I've always wanted to get my education further, no matter the hurdles that I've had to go over. And like, I'm here, I'm with all of these groups of people. They mean so much to me. And the hard work will pay off with scholarship, and I'm seeing that more than ever today. So that really, Mortar Board really hits that sweet spot for me. Like, I've seen the hard work and the dedication that pays off, and I want to show others that and help them guide their journey along with it. So balancing chapter responsibilities with national responsibilities, the Mortar Board, the Red Tassel chapter, when we did the transition meeting, during COVID and everything, the previous officers were so kind and honest. They said, if you need any help, please reach out. We'll help you in any way we can. Brendan, Aaliyah, they were previous secretaries in the Red Tassel chapter, and any question I've had, they have helped me out. And along the way, I've been trying to build up my secretary and selections chair skills. And so really my executive board so far, we've meshed really well. And I feel like I could balance that with a lighter course load that I'm taking. I'm only taking 2 classes in fall and maybe 10 credit hours for the next 3 or 4 semesters. So really the balance in that, it will be easy for me to find that balance because I will have that time.
All right, thank you so much. We have time for one more question, but since we are a little bit short on time, candidates, please answer in 1 or 2 quick sentences. The question is, what sets you apart from the other candidates, and what unique thing do you have to bring to the table? Let's start off with Caitlyn.
So I am used to leadership. I'm currently president of Tennessee for a charity organization. So I've been doing that for years and years. So public speaking and delegating is second nature to me. So thank you.
Thank you, Caitlyn. Daniela?
This is a hard question. I think what sets me apart too, I am a great leader. I love volunteering. I know everything that there is to know too of joining prestigious organizations. And also, I think I want to say that I bring a lot of diversity and new ideas. So that's what sets me apart.
How about Beth?
So I feel like as an older student, I've really learned a lot through my educational journey. And I feel like I have the resources, I can give the resources to students and other peers who need it. And I'm always there to help with an open mind and really all the hard work along the way.
Thank you, Beth. And now Kayla.
I think for me, it would be my past experience that I mentioned earlier, already having that experience under my belt of serving in a similar position for another student organization where I was able to really advocate for those student needs. And I'm super passionate about making sure that every single voice is heard, diversity, inclusion, and all of that. So really, really passionate about just advocating for you as a student and bringing your voices to the table. And I have experience doing that where I've been able to make a difference and bring that to work with the board of directors.
Thank you so much. These are wonderful questions and great answers. If you have any more lingering questions, there is a discussion topic on the Whova app that candidates can respond to your questions there. So feel free to post any questions there throughout the conference. The candidates' names, they will be formally placed into nomination tomorrow at the opening session of the conference, which is at 1 p.m. Eastern. Thereafter, the balloting will begin. It will take place on the Whova app. And remember, each chapter only gets one vote, which will be by its official delegate. This is why it would be a great idea to share links to these YouTube videos of the candidates and a copy of this recording of this meeting to your chapter so they can engage their vote and get their input on your decision as well. Balloting will close at 10 a.m. on Sunday, and the outcome of the election will be announced at Sunday's business meeting, which is at noon Eastern. Be sure to use the Whova app to put this in your conference calendar. Thank you.
All right, and best of luck to all of our candidates. They all seem to be very wonderful people and definitely qualify for the job. Now, another important part to the governance of Mortar Board has to deal with the delegation itself here, making suggestions about the operation of our society altogether. Now, this year, Mortar Board has begun a brand new one-year strategic plan that strives to take into account the effects of COVID-19 on both our campuses and us as individuals at the same time. Now, that plan can go ahead and be accessed through the Whova app, which can be found in the documents section on there. You can see it both on your smartphone or also using the web application as well. Now, our committee would like to ask that you take the time to review this plan, indicate some suggestions that you may have, as long with interests that you might have in serving on committees that are related to diversity, equity, and inclusion. We also currently have a discussion forum on the app as well, titled as Resolutions and Recommendations Committee. On there, people are free to post any suggestions that they may have. And at the same time, we're also planning on holding a virtual Zoom meeting tomorrow at 7:15 p.m. Eastern Time. The link to that meeting is going to go ahead and be posted in that discussion forum as well, along with any other important information that we have relating to it. There's also going to be a form. We'll link to a form online where you can go ahead and post discussions on your own time if you want to. That link's also going to go ahead and be provided within the discussion forum on the app as well. But at this time, we're actually going to dedicate a couple of minutes to see if people have suggestions or recommendations that they would like to put forward right now. You can feel free to go ahead and leave that behind in the chat section, or if you want to, I guess you can go ahead and have a few minutes if you want to go ahead and share that with everyone else present in person over your video, or you can do the chat too, that's fine as well. And I guess just to clarify, when it comes to like recommendations and things like that, these can be like sort of initiatives that you feel as if Mortar Board should focus on, or like some changes in general as an organization that you think we should go ahead and, direct more attention to. And then when it comes to resolutions, these can be aspects that deal more with the governance of Mortar Board as like an organization itself. And of course, if you have any more questions, just feel free to reach out to our committee.
I have a recommendation if that's appropriate. But Seth stated something if you wanted to read Seth's initiative.
All right, thank you, Seth. Yeah, I'm just reading it over real quick. Definitely a very good point. We're going to go ahead and put that down into our form where we're keeping track of everything. Not Jane, I'm sorry. Nina, do you want to go ahead and explain what your recommendation was?
Yes. So according to UCLA Ronald Reagan Neuropsychiatry, prolonged quarantine, self-induced quarantine exaggerates mental health issues as well as can cause them. And I'm wondering what are some sort of initiatives that we can take to protect the mental health of people in our community and within our chapter, since we're going to be in quarantine for a very long time. on an individual base with little, like, not so much generalization, but really care about people to make sure that everyone can stay calm during such a time.
Thank you very much for that point. That's definitely a very valid idea that we should have out there. Anyone else have any recommendations or resolutions they would like to put forward at this time? And it's no pressure if you can't think of anything now. We're definitely going to have more opportunities to go about it. And you can always go ahead and make recommendations about how you feel the conference is going. If you think that should be redone in a different way, does the timing work? Is what we're talking about makes sense? Or, you know, anything relating to that matter as well. All right, I'm going to take the silence as being we might need some more time, but that's no worries at all. Jane, is there anything that you maybe want to close out with?
No, thanks, Dakota. I was about to put the JOT form link in the chat so that we could share that with members who might want to let us know through that form about a recommendation or a resolution. Your next program is in this room in about 4 minutes. David Coleman will be presenting Making Relationships